Welcome back, everyone, to this session on classification or types of advertising. So, in this session, we will understand how advertising can be classified based on some important criterion, majorly the audience being targeted and the geographic area that is being served. Different products, services, and markets require different advertising approaches. A consumer product like Maggie requires a very different advertising strategy compared to industrial machinery sold by Larsen and Toubro or software solutions sold or software services offered by Tata Consultancy Services or companies like Infosys. Similarly, you could have brands like Siemens who are offering healthcare services or healthcare equipment, let me put it this way. Their advertising will be completely different. Their target market will be completely different. Similarly, similarly, advertising can also differ according to the geographical market. Not only in terms of consumers, advertising can differ in terms of the geographical market that it is targeting. Some campaigns may sparely target metropolises, single cities, or others are designed for an entire region of the country. So you could have campaigns targeting North India. You could have campaigns targeting southern part of India. Or you could have campaigns which are only targeting the metropolises where the product is being introduced for the first time. You could have campaigns like that. You could have an all India campaign. Or you could have campaigns for tier 2 cities or tier 3 cities. So these are some simple way to understand how advertising can be geographical also. So, understanding these classifications help marketers select the right message, the right media, choose the right media, and frame the appropriate creative strategy, the big idea, the message for their target audience. So, if we were to think in terms of the target audience and the different categories, if we were to classify advertising according to them, so advertising strategies are fundamentally shaped by who they are designed to reach. The first category is consumer advertising. And what happens when we say consumer advertising? Here, the advertiser is directly communicating with the consumer, and it's the final consumer. There are no intermediaries because in business, we have wholesalers, we have jobbers, we have retailers, we have the manufacturing companies, we have the subcontractors, we have the we have other specialized uh, groups which we'll be discussing. So here, what happens in consumer advertising? The advertiser communicates directly with the final consumer. So it's consumer focused advertising. And most of the advertising we as individuals encounter, uh, most of the ads that we see, or most of the advertising that we encounter is consumer focused advertising. So ads for Surf Excel, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Samsung smartphones, Apple mobile phone, or any other brand that we can think of which we see on a daily basis, is basically consumer focused advertising. The focus is the end consumer. The second category is what we call as a business focus. The focus is not an individual, the focus is a business. So, this is also known as industrial advertising, B2B advertising. These advertisements, what do? They target organizations rather than individual consumers. For example, Tata Steel, JSW, Jindal Saw. What do? They do not target normal consumers. Sometimes they do also. Like, for example, Rathi Steel, many steel companies, many cement companies, they are targeting the end consumer also, but they are targeting the big realtors. Like, for example, you can have the DLF. DLF is a big realtor. They make small cities. So, what is the targeting? The targeting is not the consumers, the final consumers, it is actually the builders or the real estate developers. Okay, Emar, and many others, Tata, Godrej, they are all into real estate development. So, The third category that we can think of is the professional focus. So you have certain professionals, you have the lawyers, you may have the healthcare professionals. So there are professionals which can be specifically targeted. So advertising can be thought, one way of classifying advertising is in terms of the focus that it has, whether it is targeting the consumers directly, or it has a business focus, or it has a professional focus. So you can have doctors, you can have lawyers, you can have engineers, you can have architects, and there could be some other groups that could be targeted. The objective here of professional or business advertising, or I should say professional, is to influence decision making while complying with professional ethics and regulations. Each audience group, whether it's the consumer, he has a different focus, different needs, purchase motivations, and decision making processes, which is why advertisers create different strategies for different category. That's very interesting and understandable and relatable. So for consumers, you need to create different kind of advertising. For business, you need to create different kind of advertising. So in business, generally the ads that you say do not employ glamour or do not employ humor. Generally speaking, they are to the point, crisp, prevent a logical reasoning or an argument, and a lot of information which will aid uh, the business to make an informed decision. Same is the case with the professional focus. So consumer advertising is the most common and visible form of advertising. So none of us are into B2B. Some of us might be, but generally speaking, the audience that I'm addressing right now, a majority of you may not be into B2B. You are merely a consumer at this point of time. So the most visible advertising to us at this point of time is basically consumer advertising. The primary objective of consumer advertising is to influence the buying behavior of the end consumers. So traditionally, consumer advertising has used mass media such as television, radio, newspapers, and magazines. So these have been the medium too. But these days, what has happened? Things have changed. Newer media has evolved. Newer tools are there at the disposal of advertisers and marketers to build and create brands, increase the engagement with the brand, consumer engagement, and things like that. So we have digital platforms such as YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, OTT platforms that become equally important in building consumer brands. So consumer advertising heavily relies on emotional appeal, storytelling, celebrity endorsements, humor, and lifestyle imagery to create aspirational appeals, uses use of a celebrity to create an aspirational appeal, to connect with the celebrity. And there can be many examples. So take the example of Cadbury's campaign. They do not simply sell chocolate, they sell emotions, celebrations, and family bonding. Similarly, if you were to see Amul ads, most of the Amul advertisements use humor and topical reference to create strong brand recall. The ultimate objective is to create awareness, build preference, and motivate purchase among consumers. So, whenever there is something new, it could be new happening and something which resonates with the masses, you'll see Amul come out with a topical reference to that and it will have an ad like that. Then we have within the consumer advertising, there one small distinction, or I should say a big distinction, is related, not small actually. To some people, it may be small. Some textbooks and some authors and some researchers do not make that distinction. But I personally feel that distinction is very, very significant. There's a distinction between product advertising and brand advertising. So, what happens in product advertising? The product advertising, you create a demand for the product. It could be a new to the world product. So, you'll when advertising would be there at the launch stage. Advertising would be required to educate the consumer about the different features that particular or the benefits that the product may have. It you may use advertising to demonstrate those benefits, and you help consumers in the adoption process. So you create a demand for the product. When we say product advertising, we are trying to create a demand for the product. Ultimately, the product is likely to come, or most of the time, every product has a brand name stamped on it. So that doesn't merely make it brand advertising or product brand advertising. Many people tend to use the word product brand advertising. But I personally feel that product advertising is different from brand advertising. In brand advertising, you are trying to create a brand name or a brand image. In product advertising, you are trying to educate the consumer. So the advertising focuses on explaining, educating, and creating a demand for the product or the product category or the new technology or the service, answering the core question: why should consumers buy this new product, not the brand? That's the basic idea. So you have to answer this question in this advertising and in product advertising, why consumers should buy the brand and why they should use this particular product. So ultimately, it's all about the product. So the primary objective of product advertising is to inform the consumers about the product and the category. So, for example, an ad for an OLED television. Primarily, it is trying to inform consumers that there is something called as OLED technology in LED television. Explains why OLED is superior to the traditional LED televisions. Educate the market on this new OLED technology and drive adoption across the consumer base. So that's the basic idea. So it's very similar to advertising over the product life cycle. So when we were discussing these concepts, we'll discuss advertising over the product life cycle also. So what are the key advertising objectives over the product life cycle? They're basically the same: inform, explain, educate, drive adoption. But at different stages, the objective change. Sometimes when the brand or the product in question, you know, becomes or catches the fancy of the consumer, then you build brand preference advertising. You do stop at educating the consumer because the consumers are now already educated. So that is something which will come to at a later stage, the product life cycle curve. So real world Indian examples. Today, the traditional battery, I'll give an example. The traditional batteries that we use, they are being replaced. The lead acid batteries that we use are being replaced by lithium phosphate or lithium phosphate batteries. So lithium phosphate batteries are solid state batteries. There's no maintenance required. They're sealed. They're not like the regular lead acid batteries, even though there are some lead acid batteries which are termed as maintenance free, but nevertheless you have to add distilled water to keep the recharge level at the required minimum. So lithium batteries is an interesting case. Now the companies which are manufacturing lithium batteries, their task is to inform the consumers that there is a superior product. And they must provide a reason for the consumers that why consumers switch over. There has to be a reason why consumers should switch over. Now, lithium batteries, the classic example is these days you have brands like UTL. UTL is, or Eastman, or many others like Luminous and many other Microtech, they're all manufacturing lithium batteries. What are they doing in their ads? They are trying to educate the consumer that switch to lithium battery. It is nearly the same cost as the lead acid batteries. The costs have come down in the last 2 years because the technology is now being mass produced. What are they trying to convince the consumer? They are trying to tell the consumer that the lithium battery is at least one fourth or at least half the weight of what your traditional battery was weighing. If your traditional battery was weighing 60 kgs, this new battery would not be more than 20-25 kgs, depending on the power of the battery. So if we compare apple to apples, it would at least be one third of the weight of the. And obviously, batteries are very, very heavy. The lead acid batteries are very heavy to. And then you have to, there's the hassle of adding distilled water after every 15-20 days. Especially in summers, it could be even lesser. The duration could be a week also. And then they're very heavy, they are cumbersome, difficult to transport from one place to another. The biggest disadvantage of the traditional lead acid batteries are that they take a lot of time to charge, and not only take a lot of time to discharge, but there are other issues with that particular battery, that particular battery cannot be deep discharged. Even a lithium battery cannot be deep discharged, but you can utilize lithium battery to 90% levels. You can discharge that battery to 90%, whereas you cannot discharge a lead acid battery to 90%. So lithium battery can be discharged to 90%, and it will. And the time taken to charge lithium battery is very, very fast. You can do it very quickly, which is not the case with your regular lead acid batteries. So this is what you have to educate the consumer. Similarly, now we have electric vehicles in India. So the companies have to educate the consumers. First of all, what is this EV? Naturally, consumers have some aversion to new technology. They have to be told, they have to be informed why EV. The company, the advertising company, must provide them with a solid and strong reason. Okay, fine, if you're buying a new car, for example, I've got a diesel car. So when I was buying this car in 2014, I actually paid 1.5 lakhs extra because diesel technology was coming at premium then. Because diesel was cheaper, substantially cheaper than petrol. But today it is not substantially cheaper than petrol. It is the government which is subsidizing diesel. Otherwise, and even then it is not cheap anymore. There's hardly a few rupees difference between diesel and petrol. If the government were to make it free market or they were to stop subsidizing, then what would happen? Diesel would be costlier. So ultimately, I think I made a very, I mean, my decision was not really sound. I should have gone for a petrol car. And looking back in hindsight, I can say that I made this wrong decision, but that was not the wrong decision then when I made it in 2014. But what has happened? Government of India, I live in Aligarh and I often go to Delhi, but my car is more than 10 years old and it's a diesel car. So I have to take a cab if I have to go to Delhi. That's an additional cost. Even after having a car which is which has only done 60,000 kilometers, I have to take a cab if I have to go to Delhi. That's kind of, uh, that's a bad deal. So, from a marketer's perspective, EVs appeal to me. EVs, the company can provide a strong reason for consumers to buy EV. It is a green car, green energy, and EV technology is going to evolve. So you don't have these kind of hassles. The government is offering some additional benefits when you buy an EV vehicle. Government is actually promoting this. So these are the things that the government needs to, or the company needs to uh, educate the consumer. And once the consumer is educated, he would likely want to buy an electric vehicle. So electric vehicle is catching up in India in a big way. And nobody could have envisioned what will happen between, or what will eventually happen between Israel, America, and Iran, and the resulting fuel prices or the hike in fuel prices. India is somehow managing, even though fuel prices have gone up, but not so significantly. But India is a big country, powerful country, so they are somehow managing the fuel crisis. So that is again a plus for EV, and that could be used by marketers. Many other new products, like for example, water purifiers at one point of time, you had to convince people that buy a water purifier. And you had to provide a compelling reason because people were happy drinking tap water. But then came in things like companies coming and physically demonstrating TDS and all that. And especially The consumers who are aware, who are educated, they know, oh, very high TDS, not good for health. Too much of iron, not good for health. Too much of dissolved salts, not good for health. Similarly, UPI and financial technology, using ATMs, that these are also products and services. So you have to educate the consumers. There are still people. Every time we are being educated related to cyber frauds and all those, we get calls and we get SMSs from banks and government organizations. So this is all education. So this is all about advertising about the product and the product in question and its benefits. Look at this ad for a dishwasher. And if you look at the ad, it's a picture which says the thousand words. It's a pretty old ad. It's a heritage ad, let me put it this way, or a retro ad. Your wife's hand need never touch dishwater again. It's not a dishwasher. I thought it's dishwasher, but it's actually dishwater. And that is what the advertising or the ad wants. The ad wants the consumer to read it correctly. The idea is that, you know, unchain your wife from the kitchen. She already has too many household chores. Let us have something. There's a new product, and this is called as a dishwasher, where you can just simply put the dish, connect the cord, and switch it on, and your dishes will be sparklingly clean. So this ad is all about, as you can see, this has a lot of copy, lot of content. It actually is trying to inform and educate the consumer as to what the dishwasher does, and it is using an emotional appeal that your wife's hand need never touch the dishwater again. Buy a dishwasher. And ultimately, when you buy a dishwasher, they are saying, please buy from us. And who are the us here? Hot Point is the brand name. Look at this. It's an ad for a dishwasher. Buy Bosch. But it's an ad for a dishwasher. It explains about dishwasher. What does a dishwasher do? It is invented for life. That's their tagline. Dishes are germ free. That's a product benefit. Life worry free. That you just put in the dishes, the job is done. So it is a new way to clean. So idea is to build a demand for the product. And then when the idea is that also there is a secondary objective, the primary objective is to create an aura or educate the consumer about the product. So once the education has been done, the consumer may have a desire to buy the brand. Then you have the brand name Bosch, which you can see right at the, you can see Bosch at the right hand side corner. The idea is that if you want to buy, please buy from Bosch. Look at this ad. This is an ad for a 4K OLED television set. Ultimate picture quality, true to filmmaker intention. So the idea here is that it's about a product benefit or a product attribute. So what are they trying to do? They are trying to create or educate the consumer about an OLED television set. How is it different? It is different in the sense that how the filmmaker has visualized and shot the movie in 8K or 16K or whatever it might have been. You will get similar results when you have an OLED 4K television set. That's the basic idea here. So it's again a form of product advertising, even though the brand name may be here, that is Viera. So you can see the brand, but the brand is not so prominent. The product is prominent. Now, what exactly is brand advertising? So, brand advertising is creating preferences for the brand. The idea is that the consumers are already aware about the product, what the product does. The idea is to create an awareness about. So, you have a lot of advertising that you see. Most of the consumer advertising is Pepsi versus Cola. It's again it's again an example of brand advertising. Airtel versus Jio, brand advertising. Samsung TV versus LG TV, brand advertising. Kent And Aquaguard, Kent versus Aquaguard, Kent versus Live Pure. It's again an example of uh, brand advertising. Tata EV versus Mahindra EV, example of brand advertising. So, what is the primary objective here when it comes to brand advertising? Differentiate the brand from your rivals. It's not about educating or informing about the new uses or the benefits of the product. Build brand image in brand advertising. It is about building brand image, and it is about building long-term credibility. Create brand preference and customer loyalty. Strengthen competitive positioning in the market. So the class example is once the consumer understands the new display technology, brands like Samsung and LG compete by highlighting superior quality, after sales service, reliability, innovation, to connect with the brand, persuading consumers to choose their brand specifically over the rivals brand. So this is all about brand advertising. And most of the advertising that we see is generally brand advertising. Look at this. Now many will say it is about a product. Or you can see Kame, Kame, Kame. So it's all about the brand. It's a soap. Picture tells a thousand words. Scented soap, you can see a scent bottle also. So you know the product attributes and the benefits. But the idea is to build a brand, and the idea is to build a or create a brand image, and that is or to precipitate sales. But the idea is not to create any. So this is an example of this is a classic example of brand advertising. Look at this, Black and Decker. We make life easier for you. You don't even have a product here. You only have a brand name, Black and Decker. And Black and Decker is a multi-product, multi-brand company. So what is the objective here? The objective here is to create a brand image. We make life easier for you. We have so many products. Another form of advertising is what we call as social advertising. And social advertisements refer to a form of communication that aims to inform, educate, or persuade the public on various social, environmental, or health related issues. So, therefore, it is unlike traditional brand or product advertising, which primarily promote products or services for commercial gain. Social advertisements are designed to influence public behavior, raise awareness, or support a particular cause. Like, for example, Help Age India, adult homes, animals, and so on and so on. These advertisements often address important topics: environmental conversation, human rights, social justice, with the ultimate goal, where the ultimate goal is to inspire positive societal changes. Now, if you look at this particular ad, it's all about planting trees, encouraging planting trees. And you can see the trees are shown in the form of lungs, because if you plant trees, they save your lungs. Oxygen. That is the connection that they're trying to make. The second ad that you see is about it's an anti smoking ad. And the ad provides a logic and rationale saying that you will become a smoker, your child is likely to become a smoker, and they quote certain statistics. They say that parents and siblings who smoke, it is very likely that their children are going to smoke. And then the third ad that you see here is about a lion caged in a circle. And they say that a lion is not a clown. Don't cage him in a circus. In a circus, you only need to have clowns. Don't cage lions. They're trying to make a very powerful message. Such kind of advertising, and you may have encountered so many others advertising, so many other types of Alcoholic Anonymous, against addiction. So the idea is to inspire positive societal change. Then we have business advertising. Business advertising is, like I said earlier, is also known as industrial advertising or B2B advertising. Unlike consumer advertising, the target audience here consists of organizations and buyers rather than individual consumers. Industrial advertising may promote machinery, manufacturing equipment, raw materials, industrial chemicals, or technology solutions, which may be offered by companies. You can have Tata Motor commercial vehicles, which advertise trucks to logistic companies, not to ordinary consumers. Business advertising may also promote services such as cloud computing, consulting, logistics, ERP software, and enterprise solutions, which are not targeted towards the normal consumers. The decision making the decision making process is usually more rational and involves multiple stakeholders such as procurement managers, technical experts, and senior executives. So most of the ad is logical and rational, may have long copy, may provide logical arguments and reasoning. So therefore, B2B ads focus more on performance, efficiency, cost savings, reliability, and return on investment rather than emotional appeal. So most of the B2B ads don't end up using celebrities or humor and things like that. So you could have different focus within the B2B. You could have the industrial focus, you could be focusing on the service sector, you could be focusing on the decision makers. But the idea here is to provide these three segments with logical and rational arguments, which could be higher performance, better quality, efficiency, cost savings, reliability, and return on investment. This is an example of Tata Steel, Samajhdar bane, behtar chune. Now, this can be construed as uh, brand or product advertising focused towards the consumers. To some extent, yes. Normal consumers generally these days, I should say, very few people actually build their own houses, that they go out and buy iron bars and buy the bricks. A lot of people do that, but majority give it to a contractor or to a builder. So builder is not a consumer in the sense that he is not the end consumer. So he's somewhere in the chain. So this ad is targeted towards businesses. It could be targeted towards a real estate developer like MR, like Javer Authority, Airport Authority. It could be targeted towards JP. It could be targeted towards DLF. It could be targeted towards Supertech. It could be targeted towards Shalimar Builders. So this is an example of industrial ad. Trade advertising targets intermediaries in the distribution channel. So you can see a distribution channel. You have the manufacturer who creates the product. You have and from here, you have the wholesaler. So from the manufacturer to the wholesaler and the wholesaler to the jobber. Sometimes you have jobbers in between, and then you have the retailers. So you could be targeting, trade advertising could be targeting the intermediaries in the distribution channel. So these intermediaries could include wholesalers, distributors, dealers, and retailers who purchase products for resale, not for their own personal use. The purpose of trade advertising is to encourage channel members to stock, promote, or sell a company's product. For example, a consumer electronics company may advertise in trade publications to convince retailers to display its television prominently. Similarly, FMCG companies often run dealer incentive campaigns, encouraging wholesalers and retailers to push their brand. And this is a very common phenomena in uh, marketing. So, trade advertising helps strengthen distribution networks and ensures product availability. Without retailer support, by the way, even a heavily advertised consumer brand may struggle to reach consumers or customers or the target audience effectively. That's something that you need to know. And I've been saying all along. If your distribution network is poor, even the most popular ad and advertising may not be able to reach the consumers if your trade or distribution network is poor. This is an example of a trade advertising. Jaipur wholesale market. This is largest trade fair, retail trade fair. That's also an example of trade advertising. Professional advertising is directed towards licensed professionals who make specialized purchase decisions. Examples may include doctors, engineers, architects, chartered accountants, and lawyers. In the healthcare segment, pharmaceutical companies advertise medicines and medical equipment to doctors because doctors influence prescription decisions. Engineering firms may advertise specialized software or equipment to engineers and architects. Legal research databases and professional software solutions may advertise directly to legal professionals. Like, for example, you have Live Law, Bar and Bench, Case Mine, they advertise to lawyers. So, unlike consumer advertising, professional advertising focuses heavily on technical information, product performance, scientific evidence, and things like that. Since many professionals operate under ethical guidelines, advertisers must ensure that communication comply with regulatory and professional standards. So I'll just show you a few ads. This is an ad by targeted towards the healthcare professionals, hospitals, and this is about an MRI or a CAT scan machine which is manufactured by Siemens. The next ad is Veritas Legal. This is about an agency or or a lawyer's firm. Let me put it that way. Sorry, it's not an agency. This ad is about a lawyer's firm. Sometimes we come across ads which we can call as agriculture advertising. So the target audience could be individual farmers, agriculture cooperatives, agribusiness companies, farm equipment dealers, and there are typical examples in India. Companies such as Mahindra, Swaraj, Bayer, many companies, Tata, IFCO regularly use agriculture advertising. So agriculture advertising often uses demonstration, field visits, village meetings, agriculture fairs, and regional language communication. Since farmers are highly influenced by practical results, advertisers frequently showcase productivity improvement, crop yield benefits, and real farmer testimonials. So look at this. This is an example of a Mahindra tractor. This is an example of a Prithvi. So benefits are being shown here. Benefits of farming with Prithvi Tattva. So that's a company which manufactures organic chemicals. Then advertising can also be classified according to geographic coverage. Local advertising targets consumers within a specific city or a local market area. Examples may include restaurants, coaching institutes, hospitals, jewelry stores, and real estate projects. Advertising within a city such as Haridwar, Dehradun, Lucknow. So basically, regional advertising covers a larger geographic area, but not the entire nation. Regional campaigns are customized to suit local languages, cultural preferences, and consumption habits. For example, we see advertising about the Aam Mela done by the UP Horticulture Department. So in UP, so that is advertised within the region which love mango or the regions which love mangoes. A food brand may use different advertising themes in North India and South India because consumers' preferences are different or differ significantly. Choosing the correct geographic scope helps advertiser use their budgets more efficiently and communicate more effectively with local audiences. So for South Indian, you may see a lot of ads for Sarvana Bhavan. You may see lot of ads for the regular dosa and uttapa and all those things that they have. Whereas in North India, you may see a lot of ads for paneer paratha, Mughlai dishes, rajma rice, and things like that. I'll give you some example. And this is one of the classic examples where Coca-Cola used regional advertising. And Coca-Cola built its brand in India using Amir Khan as a celebrity endorser. As you can see from this collage, you see Amir Khan in different, so you have a Haryanvi Jat, and you have a Hyderabadi Tapori, and you have a Bengali Amir Khan, and you have a Nepali Amir Khan, you have a uh, Sahib cut Amir Khan, and Amir Khan in different avatars. So Amir Khan was able to target different regions of India, or Coca-Cola was able to target different regions of India using Amir Khan as a celebrity endorser. And that is why along with Coca-Cola, Pepsi Cola, along with Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola is one of the or is the leading brand in India when it comes to cola. Thank you.